Good morning. I come before you today with what I hope will be a very simple and clear message, because it is a message of God to us today in this country in this year. Our Lady of Guadalupe right away conjures up in our minds different images, I'm sure. We all know what the tilma looks like. That's the cloth that Juan Diego, the wrap that he had around his shoulders. And that is where the image appeared. We probably think that all Mexican communities are celebrating this week. And believe it or not, in Mexico, they're really celebrating. And yet that is so far from the message of Guadalupe. I am constantly amazed at how God has spoken to me through the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe. It happened in 1531, 4 centuries ago, going on 5. And yet the message comes across. And we have to put a little bit of history in our minds. I hate to say this, but forget Mexico. Our Lady of Guadalupe is not Mexican. Because in 1531, Mexico did not exist. The United States did not exist. Canada did not exist. Argentina did not exist. It's only 39 years since Europeans encountered people on this continent when this event took place. God, in his love for what was called the New World, but really a very old world, but for this new encounter, he blessed this encounter with the image of his mother, the image that we're so familiar with. And so Our Lady of Guadalupe is Mother of the Americas from the get-go. She is ours. And as over the years I have visited Mexico and gone to the Basilica 4, 5, 6 times, celebrated Mass there and so forth, the full impact of Our Lady of Guadalupe hit me just this past year. In the parish where I worked in Alabama, the Mexican parishioners were building a beautiful shrine to Our Lady of Guadalupe. Now, centuries later, it's in their blood. And as I did some research, I found out something I never knew, despite my visits to the Basilica. But in various parts of the world, Our Lady of Guadalupe is prayed to for the unborn. And it's a very logical prayer. When you look at the image of Mary, and she is indigenous in her facial features, because Juan Diego was an indigenous man. But you notice she is not looking up, she is looking down. She's looking down at her womb, calling attention to the baby in her womb. And almost as if to highlight it, she is wearing a black ribbon around her waist. And that, in the indigenous culture, indicated that the woman who wore that ribbon was pregnant. I never knew that until this year. And it's so very logical that from God's people, they understood this, and they did not need a decree from Rome or anything, and they began to pray to Mary, Virgin of Guadalupe, for the unborn. And in our times today, 2012, the unborn is one class of people who really need protection. and we're called to pray to Mary for them, for their mothers. Mary is pro-life. But this past year, as I was looking at the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe and just reflecting in my mind, God gave a thought in my mind and my heart that I had never thought of before. Because I was concentrating on the child in Mary's womb when I realized that that same child grew and was executed unjustly. Wow. She saw her son executed. We might not have any kind of revulsion to that. We're so used to the cross. We've made crosses out of gold and out of silver. But what would our reaction be if we came into a church like this and up on the wall we saw an electric chair? That's what the cross is. An instrument of death, an instrument of execution. And Mary, as she received that child in her womb years previously, received that very same child in her arms, taken down from the cross. In that moment, I knew that Mary, the Mother of God, the Mother of the Americas, the Virgin of Guadalupe, is the pro-life image for all of us. As the bishops have stated, pro-life means to favor life from the first moment of conception until natural death, not execution. And that's a challenge for all of us. Because as Father Shea mentioned, I was born here in Philadelphia. I grew up in Lansdowne, not too far from here. And we grew up in a society where execution was taken for granted. In Pennsylvania, our society kills by law. Our society aborts by law. And the Virgin of Guadalupe says no to that. The point is, what do we say? Are we pro-life as Mary is pro-life? Do we come to Mary because of her great love for life, even when taken away from her with the death of her son? This is a glorious day for all of us. This is a day that challenges us. We're all so very much against abortion. But are we against the death penalty? Mary, the Mother of the Americas, is against the death penalty. If you go downstairs to where the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe is, take a good look at it. Let it speak to you. Look at Mary looking at her womb. Look at the black ribbon. And ask ourselves, am I in love with life, even when I don't understand what's happening? How can I forgive somebody who is killed? I can forgive because God has forgiven.